cross paths a lot in Chicago, right? Or just now in the industry, right?
Yeah. No, I feel like I've known you my whole life.
Yeah?
Yeah. Come on, man. You know who you are.
Oh, my God. You can't say this.
No, man. You know, like, I mean, growing up in Chicago, like, you know, when you were on American Idol, like, I just remember, like, that was, like, a whole time in our lives, like, just, like...
How old were you, Chance, when I was on American Idol?
I was probably, like, maybe 10 or 11.
You were? He was 10 or 11, y'all!
I mean, but it was a journey to watch you go from, you know, like, we all rooted for you. We knew you from, like, you know, like, the days of you working at Burger King to you being, like, Oscar winner. Yeah.
You know about Burger King on 87th State?
Come on, man. Everybody knows the Burger King on 87th, yo. I went to the theater. on 87th when you did Dreamgirls.
Is that where you saw that?
Standing ovation. Yeah. It was
really?
Man, you deserve all of this, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to have you here today.
But you know we know each other.
Yes,
I see you at the studio and stuff.
We do run into each other quite a bit in the studio in Chicago. And you grew up on, what part of Chicago did you grow up on?
I grew up out south on 79th.
79th?
Yeah.
79th and what?
In Princeton, right off in
Princeton?
Yeah, I was right by Simeon.
Because I was on 75th. Yeah, my brother went to 75th.
Yeah, you was on 75th.
We having a Chicago moment. I hope y'all don't. Because like me, you still live in Chicago.
Yeah. I still live there to this day. And you still live in Chicago.
Yes, I do. I feel like I always say it allows my feet to touch the ground. What's your reason of why you still live in Chicago?
Probably the same reason. You know, it's like just real people and real, like my family is there and like, you know, there's a lot of like, I don't know. There's a lot of beautiful places in the world that I love and I love to visit, but there's no place like home. Like,
no place like home. That is for sure. You're from Chicago, too?
I am from Chicago. I am from Chicago.
Yes.
You guys from Chicago?
Chicago?
Yes.
Right here.
Right here. That's
I got your back.
I don't even need you. I got Chicago right here.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up on the north side, not too far from Wrigley Field.
Okay.
Big Cubs fan, Sox fan.
I'm south side.
But I do love my Sox. I still do. Yeah, Chicago's the greatest.
It is.
I mean, it's a very special place. We love it. I love the food.
Of course.
Chicago food, you can put the word Chicago in front of any food and it makes it sound better. You know, have you ever had Chicago peanuts? They're like so much thicker than a real peanut. You never had a pickle until you've had a Chicago
pickle. I love that.
I love it.
Oh my God. Okay, now when I'm in Chicago, people always say, where you from? And I'm like, I'm from Chicago. They're like, you don't sound like you from here. So one, what is a Chicago accent and do you still does it still come out?
The Chicago accent is very kind of flat and clipped a little bit like that. The only time it comes out is if I get really mad.
Okay.
Which is usually when I'm in traffic. But I would never yell at someone in traffic. It's dangerous. I would never do that. But when my windows are up and they can't hear me.
Oh, you be letting them have it?
Oh, yeah. And then my Chicago comes out. You know, like I'll be like,
yeah, what is that?
What are you going to do, man? Make a move. Are you going left or right? You got to pick a lane, my friend. That's when my Chicago accent really comes out.
And is it effective? Because you have your windows up, so do they even hear anything?
No, they just see a crazy guy going.
And you're from Chicago, just like me.
All right. You got some Chicago in the house tonight, too.
I'm sure we got some Chicago people in the house, right?
Yeah.
In Chicago, there we go. We keep them here. Where did you grow up in Chicago?
Originally, I was from South Shore,
which
is like on 71st near Stony, and then we moved to Chatham, so I was like 83rd-ish, kind of,
Yeah. See, I was over there on Gale Street, Hudson. That's where I grew up.
You got to ask me from Chicago where you're from, and you got to ask me what high school did you go to.
I was just about to ask you that.
Yes, Whitney Young High School.
Whitney Young?
Yeah.
Dumb Bob, Mighty Woman. Okay. see, they don't know nothing about that. But okay.
But you will. You will learn.
So when you go home, where do you like to eat?
The first place I eat when I go to Chicago is a restaurant called Italian Fiesta.
Italian Fiesta.
Now, for those of you paying attention, those two words do not go together.
I never thought about that.
It's the South Side of Chicago. We say, okay, it is the greasiest pizza you ever had, and I always get so much of it, and I go, Bashir, don't do this again.
Yes, but it's the best pizza, and I think every time we go
good.
home, you gotta go look for it, right?
Yes.
Ain't it the thin crust, though?
The thin crust is the best. You know, it's always an adventure. That's right, yeah. I heard the argument.
Which do you prefer the deep dish or the thin crust?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm from Chicago, so I got to ride for the deep dish.
Oh, so you're going deep dish.
But the thin crust is so good.
It's so good.
Come on now.
Your comedy special is so good. You filmed it in Chicago.
I did.
You know, that's my hometown.
I know.
Yes.
I thought you would be proud of me.
Chicago, girl, I want to hear all about that. Why Chicago?
So I got married in the thick of the pandemic, and
Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Nice.
And I met my now wife in Chicago. We met 7 years ago at Gay Pride in Chicago. Which
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds extra fun.
Yeah, because Pride in Chicago is huge.
It is.
It's so popular and fun. So I went there and we randomly met. And my first special, I talked a lot about growing up and finding myself and figuring out who I was. So I shot that in North Carolina because that's where I'm from. So I continued that narrative of like being an adult. I talk about getting engaged and getting married, and it just felt like a nice sort of, I don't know, personal touch having it be in Chicago because that's where I met my wife, and I wanted to.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, celebrate that.
I love that.
Yeah, and Chicago also is such an awesome city.
It's an awesome city.
Come
That's
on.
my hometown. You've been shooting in my hometown, Chicago.
Yeah, well, I've
Yeah?
worked there a ton over the years. Obviously, my best friend's wedding, we
Yes.
hit like every location in that whole city.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Did you have a favorite place where you shot it?
Well, one of the scenes that everybody loves so much is on that boat, the tour boat
Yes.
on Chicago River.
favorite
So we're
places.
floating along and shooting live in the city with
God.
people everywhere. In fact, they're on the bridges that we're going under. They have to cut because people are, how could you miss her, right? It's Julia. She's on the boat, they're yelling, Julia, Julia. They cut. And then like the fourth take, we get to about the third bridge and somebody yells, Dermot. I'm like, yeah. Right?
Like, yay.
Finally,
They
and
see
it
me.
turns out it was one of my buddies. I already knew him. He already knew I was cool.
I love it. And you now I love O'Hare Airport. Like you shot there?
Yeah, well, we shoot that opening, one of those
Yes.
opening scenes of Best Friend's Wedding there. But I've always loved Chicago. I mean, O'Hare, I really, honestly, I tell myself it's the best airport.
It is.
Yeah, and I don't know if it is, but I tell myself that. So every time I go in there, I won't have any delays of any sort. So
Oh, I don't know about that.
manifest it. It's a great place to be. It is.
And I heard you used to live in Chicago. Do you miss anything about it?
I did. I lived in Chicago. My wife and I met in Chicago,
Really?
actually. Yeah.
Wow.
There's my wife.
Aww.
Yeah.
Is she from Chicago?
She's not. She's from North Carolina. She'd moved there. And I was a stand-up comedian, and she heckled me at a comedy show. She did. And I was like, oh, she's rude but cute. So I tried to look for her afterwards, and I couldn't find her. Then a few days later, I saw her somewhere, and I was like,
You saw her again?
I saw her again. And I was like, hey, you heckled me the other day. Do you want to hang out sometime? And we celebrated our 15-year wedding anniversary.
That is
this
so
year.
beautiful. I love that.
I want to go back to Chicago because we sort of left on bad terms with Chicago. We had some personal issues, and so we sort of left Chicago. I kind of want to go back and reclaim Chicago. You know, when you have a breakup with someone, and then a few months later you get coffee with them, and then you're like, oh wow, no, this was lovely. It just wasn't for us. So I do miss Chicago.
Yeah, just don't go when it's too cold. I'm a Chicagoan, so I know.
Yeah, so don't go for those 8 months of the year.
Okay, tell everyone about The Chi. Congratulations on The Chi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And I hear you're trying to get into the Chicago lingo. So
Yeah.
how do you perfect that?
I think we're on season 6.
Season 6.
Thank God for that, right?
Congratulations.
Season 6. I'm from Milwaukee, which is about an hour from Chicago,
Yes.
but it's still, the lingos are still a little different. Like pop versus soda, car versus car. It's car. You know what I mean? So it's like woo wop the bam. Like it's stuff. It's some little stuff in there. So all my castmates are from Chicago, born and raised. So I get to feed off their energy a little bit, and I think this time around I'm definitely a little more into it now versus season 1. I was like finding the role, but people have really enjoyed Emmett. You know, I think it's been a blessing to play a young father on screen. And
You're a young father.
yeah, it's been dope. It's been dope.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you like this video, smash that like button and subscribe to the Jennifer Hudson Show YouTube channel. Check your local listings or visit jenniferhudsonshow.com to see when you can watch full episodes in your area. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter.